Welcome to How Not to Make Comics, number something or other. It'll be in the title. You'll see it when you click on this. Alright, today we're going to look at my second attempt. It was in 2004 for the first official Free Comic Book Day. I actually recorded a version of this video several weeks ago, and I got into a coughing fit in the middle of it, and didn't want to deal with editing it, and then I thought I was going to re-record it, but just never got a chance to. So we're doing it now. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Alright. Alright, so what we're looking at on this one is after my first failure, I decided to make another go at it at the first official comic book day, 24-hour comic day. It was like on April 24th or whatever, because that was before they moved it. I decided to go with this inkwash style, which is it's kind of funny to look at now because I have a book out called A Night on Ghost Island, and it does an inkwash also, and this one actually is a lot better about holding the tones consistent than my old work. This was on some random paper that I found at the print shop. It was very spongy, if I remember, but it was not actually watercolor paper like I usually do with my ink washes. On my website, this little bit was called Nature Boy. I didn't really have a solid idea for a 24-hour comic. I just wanted to sit down and do something. And so I ended up doing a bunch of little short stories. So this is the first one. Yeah. He's at one with nature, so he pets it, and then murders it. But he feels bad about it. So, that's the end of that little comic. It's kind of funny. I don't know where I was at with vegetarianism at the time. I'm a pretty good vegetarian now. I usually only eat meat if I think it's going to go to waste, but I have dogs and cats, so that's very rare. And the closest I get to eating meat is if someone who, if like my wife makes bacon and there's a pan full of bacon grease, I'll cook with that grease. So, because to me, it's wasting food is, you know. I guess I'm sort of a freegan when it comes to eating meat. So, every once in a while I'll get paranoid that I'm not getting enough vitamin B, or is it B? Yeah, because I don't take any vitamins. So, I'll be a little more liberal on what I consider grazing on that. Right, and I do eat cheese and stuff usually, but anyways, we don't care about all that. So anyways, one of the things that got me kind of stuck on this comic was I had watched a few weeks before at Easter, I had watched a History Channel series on the historical Jesus, or, you know, the historical Easter, the historical evidence behind Easter. And I got this idea for doing a graphic novel, and this was kind of feeling out for it. So I didn't really do any research. Basically, the idea of it is presenting that Jesus' father, Joseph, was widowed, and he basically wanted a wife just because he had a bunch of kids, and he couldn't support them and raise them. So he got a young wife from another town, but she got raped by Roman soldiers on the way. And he didn't really care, because he wasn't doing it for love or anything. So, you know, that's how I explain the virgin birth in it. And that's basically the whole idea of this book. So, anyways, I at some point I did some research. I found a book about the historical Jesus, and there actually is a story that a a Roman soldier named Pantera raped Mary. And I just thought that was crazy that's where that there was a story that backed up my kind of theory on it. I always wondered if the band was named after that, but I never looked it up, so I don't know. Alright, oh yeah, so there's my long-standing theory on Jesus was that he was actually a hippie. Because he kind of dressed and looked like a hippie, had a hippie attitude, and he's kind of a rabble-rouser, so that was like my take on that. Yeah, I was never invested enough to do this, so... oh yeah, the other thing I want to talk about, if you notice each page, it shows... I did this as sort of a way to... I think I was already behind at this point, because the paper just sucked up so much ink that it was taking forever to paint. So that's one of my tips on how not to make 24-hour comics is don't use an unfamiliar medium. Do something you're used to working in, so that way this kind of thing doesn't happen to you. Because it's changing up the medium really slows you down. But anyways, this it's kind of a thing I do. Instead of an establishing shot, it's like a character establishing shot. Oh yeah, this little detail too here, where I had this line that ran across, and I kind of left it because I liked it being like a crown of thorns kind of thing. But it was just a line I couldn't erase or didn't want to erase. I'm not sure, but I know that was part of the thinking on that. All right. Yeah. Oh, another thing I think is funny is that, like, for a long time I didn't think I really had a style because my style shifts around so much. But I definitely see there is a sameness that I see with my work and even my old work. But I just started seeing it very recently. Yeah. So that was it on that one. Oh, just in case someone actually cares what my little theory on here. In that special, they said that Saul, who is Paul, he was like the main guy he was like the main salesman of Christianity, basically. He was just telling everybody, like, oh, you don't have to worry about the strict Jew stuff to be a Christian, like circumcisions and not eating bacon. Speaking of vegetarianism, you don't have to worry about that strict stuff. It's the more spiritual things that you have to worry about, or, anyways. But Saul was actually hunting Christians for the Roman Empire, and when he heard the voice, and there was a bright light. So my theory for my historical book is that Saul got hit by lightning, and that's what converted him. Oh, one thing that's kind of interesting, I'm pretty sure at this point I had read Age of Bronze, so that might have given me the idea of doing the historical take on or realistic take on mythology, because that's a really good series that I never see anybody talking about. This guy, Eric something, I'm blanking on his last name, but he, beautiful illustrations, and it's really well written, how, just like, you really get a human, realistic perspective on the myths, and you're like, okay, I see how this could have gotten, it's really good. And it's not like really heavy-handed, at least not as far as I got into it. All right. Oh yeah, this one was called Death's Game, I think. It's kind of funny. So this guy wakes up. We don't know it's a guy yet. I think I was running out of time at this point. So stuff started getting real. And see, I stopped doing ink washes too. Yeah. So the guy, he sees Death, and Death has him pick 3 doors. I don't remember what I was thinking all of the 3 doors necessarily represent, but we'll see here in a second. And he picks a door and ends up as a cockroach. So, which is funny because this is a 24-hour comic where one of the stories in it was about reincarnation, and Longtooth is kind of a joke on reincarnation. So, yeah, it's funny how I was really obsessed with the idea that I felt like Stephen King keeps rewriting the same books and then just mix and matching the parts, and I really wanted to avoid that throughout my life, and I don't know if there is avoiding it, because the more work I do, the more similarities I see with previous work. So this is something that we can't escape, I guess. We all have a certain perspective, and it's going to come out, and fighting it doesn't do any good. Oh shit, I forgot to close my tabs. And this is the last page. So Scott McCloud, when he talked about creating the 24-hour comic, he I forget who did what, but basically there's like two different things you can do when you run out of time. You can either keep working till it's done, or you can just stop and then, having fell short of 24 hours. And since I was at I want to say it was Dreamweave Comics in Schaumburg. I have no idea if that store's still there, but they hosted the first official 24-hour... Well, they hosted an event on the first official 24-hour comic day. And I was there. I met some really cool cartoonists there, and I did get awfully slap happy during this. Like, there was a point... I would like to say that I'm ashamed of it, but I'm actually very proud that I started yelling at there was these ladies, Hannah and Anna, and I started yelling at Hannah for stealing all the fucking H's, so Anna didn't get any. and I was just going on about different stuff, and every time I thought that the group was getting annoyed with me, and I was like, I should shut up. They're probably getting annoyed that I keep running my mouth. I'd look up and they were recording me. I was really disappointed when I didn't end up in the movie about the first event, because they sent the footage in for that. But, yeah, and there was like this 14-year-old kid that we kind of like, I guess he was homeschooled or something, and we gave him just a very light amount of ribbing. Like, the one guy said he looked kind of like a Muppet, and he wasn't like trying to be mean. He was just saying like, oh, you have a little Muppet mouth. Isn't that adorable, kind of thing. And the kid got really bent out of shape, but he left and finished at home. So, and like, the only thing I remember saying to him was, one of the guys there, he would, he had this like amazing ability. His name was Kyle something. He did I forget the name of his comic now. But anyways, he would, if you say, this is before Internet Movie Database, and if you said a movie, he could tell you who directed it, what year it came out and stuff. And somebody, Eric, whose last name I'm blanking on also, he does Radioactive Panda, and also now it's Stone Clouds, and he's got another one that I started reading and I forget the name of. But he had a Ninja Turtle sleeping bag with, and so the guy Kyle, when Ninja Turtles came up, he rattled off when the movie came out, and I was like, I said the homeschool kid, or when he said the year the movie came out, I was like, the homeschool kid was probably conceived that movie, and then like he just like stood up and left. so like, he was just like really sheltered or something. So, we weren't meaning to like harass him or be mean to him or anything. He just had a very thin skin. So, yeah. So that was basically how that went. So the being around a group definitely helped me stay up. But I was really fighting the medium the whole time, and I think I'm pretty sure I was working the whole time, because I remember like having to look away from the work because I was like hunched over it, but I was just like really fighting to get everything dark enough, which it's kind of interesting to think back on this. So that's part of the reason I do this series. But yeah, so on this one, I was getting picked up at 9 a.m. I didn't have the luxury to continue. So my second attempt was a failure. And I guess next time we'll talk about whether the third time was the charm.